If you think the BBL is a modern invention, think again. In the 1770s, fashionable women in London were already trying to make their backs look much bigger, and they weren't going to the gym or getting surgery, they were wearing cork. But the strange thing is, the story behind this fashion was even more unusual, because one woman wore one of these cork pads for a very unexpected reason, and years later, the same strange fashion may actually have helped save someone's life. So why were women putting pieces of cork under their dresses in the first place? The fashion was known as the Cork Rump. It was a large pad filled with cork that women tied around their waist and wore under their dresses. It pushed the back of the skirt outward, making the body look much bigger behind them, and for a short time, this was exactly what fashionable women wanted. The story is often linked to Lady Henrietta Grosvenor, a well-known woman in London society. She was attending the Henley Regatta and was worried about falling into the water, so she had a cork pad made to wear under her dress. The idea was simple: if she fell into the water, the cork would help keep her floating. But people noticed the strange shape, and suddenly something that had been made for safety had become a fashion trend. Women wanted the same look. Soon these pads were being worn simply to make the body look different. The idea was to make the waist look smaller while pushing the dress out dramatically behind it, and the bigger the pad, the bigger the effect. Cork was perfect for this because it was light. A woman could wear a surprisingly large pad without carrying a huge amount of extra weight under her dress. The fashion even spread to France, where similar padded shapes became popular too, but not everyone thought they looked beautiful. Newspapers and artists started making fun of the trend. Satirical drawings showed women with enormous backs, tiny waists, and dresses sticking out so far that they almost looked unreal. And the jokes could get personal. Women who wore these pads were sometimes mocked as if their fashionable shape had become completely ridiculous. But then came something nobody could have expected. In 1778, a woman wearing a very large cork rump fell into the water. She was wearing a heavy dress which could have pulled her down, but instead of sinking, the cork underneath her dress helped keep her above the water. People pulled her back to safety, so the same strange fashion that had started as a way to change a woman's shape had suddenly become useful for exactly the reason it was first associated with. And there was another problem with wearing one. Imagine walking into a crowded room with a huge piece of cork strapped around your waist. You couldn't simply move like you normally would. Getting through narrow doorways could be awkward. Sitting down could be uncomfortable. And if the ties holding the pad in place came loose, the whole thing could shift underneath your dress. Yet women still wanted it, because fashion doesn't always have to be comfortable to become popular. Sometimes people simply want the shape everyone else wants, and for a few years that shape was a huge back and a tiny waist. Then the fashion disappeared almost as quickly as it had arrived. By the early 1780s, the enormous cork shape was fading out, and women's dresses began moving toward a very different look. Today, we think of the BBL as a very modern idea, but hundreds of years ago, women were already changing the shape of their bodies to follow fashion. No surgery, no gym, just a big piece of cork hidden underneath her dress.